Humans are not the most intelligent anymore.
He said, when love disappears, power appears.
That is a victimhood mentality.
And we talked a little bit also about the future.
So it's incredible that we accept this situation.
People call me an academic visionary, which is a combination of two worlds. I'm an academic. So for many years now, I work at university, especially in the field of strategy. So basically what I try to do is understand the future. Now, understanding the future is by reading weak signals, as we call it. So the future is in the present, as long as you know which signals you're looking at, basically. And one of those signals has already been in a long time ago, 1987. Maybe you remember that when Deep Blue won from Garry Kasparov. That was the first time that humans have been beaten by something that's more intelligent than themselves. That was an important signal, and as from that moment on, I have been researching digital technologies in general and artificial intelligence specifically. So where I'm heading at in my introduction is the unique time that we live in. Yeah, most people don't realize that, but we live really in historical times. Yeah, that has never happened before in the lifetime of human beings, or at least 12,000 years. Yeah, we don't know what happens before, but the last 12,000 years, this is a unique time that we live in. I want to explain to that because it has consequences for the living of humans, basically. Now, as I said before, I try to read the future, and being a strategist means that you have to be holistic, multidisciplinary, because if you read the future, then once it is economics that's changing, and politics, and economic, and technology, so you have to be multidisciplinary and holistic. That changed, and I've done that for a long time, writing books, indeed, and articles. Otherwise, you cannot survive at university. And that changed what I said somehow along the 80s somewhere. And it started with Jeremy Rifkin. That was actually the beginning for me to focus on something else. Jeremy Rifkin wrote a book, The Third Industrial Revolution. Maybe I've heard about it. Yes. I went to his presentation. Basically what he said is that, you know, this is important because the third industrial revolution, first we have steam and then oil and now computers. Basically that's what he was saying. Now they call it the fourth industrial revolution, maybe you remember, the fourth industrial revolution. And from the beginning I had a sort of intuition, something is not right. Yeah, I didn't know what it was, but I knew, you know, intuitively, I'm mostly intuitive, something is not right, but I didn't know what it was. And I went through that until 2011. Then there was, I was asked to give an inaugural speech. I never done that before. That was in 2015, and I started writing on my speech. And while writing, I knew what was wrong with my intuition. And you can also see it on the title of that speech, On the Eve of a Societal Revolution. Ja, aan de vooravond van een maatschappelijke revolutie. On the eve of a societal revolution, meaning that what I said is much more fundamental than what Jeremy Rifkin said. It's not just a third industrial revolution, meaning that society will remain the same. It's only that computers will be added. And here I said it's much more fundamental. The whole society is going to change. We are in the middle of a change that the whole society is going to change. Then it was, but I was waiting from that. So I've been delivering speeches from 2015 all over the world. You know, ladies and gentlemen, we are on the eve of a societal revolution, and people were looking at me. I don't know what you're saying, but I don't see anything happening. You know, And the only thing I could say, there's something about yellow jerseys, you know, that's the only proof I had. But basically I was waiting for something to happen. Then it was 2020, you remember that? It was a healthcare crisis. I thought from the beginning, I think, well, it could well be that this is the beginning of that society revolution that I'm waiting for, basically. So I tried to falsify myself by calculating the IFR, you know, the infection fatality rate. And I could not falsify myself. That's what you do as a scientist. And from that moment on, I knew this is the beginning of a new society. This is the beginning of a revolution that will take 10 years. I remember that in 2020 and 21, either people were very afraid of a virus, or they were angry. Yeah, there was nothing between. Yeah, people were angry or afraid. And I was neither of the two, because I have predicted what was happening. So I knew there was a beginning of a crisis. I knew it was going to take for 7 to 10 years, and we are going to a new kind of society. Now, a lot of people cannot imagine that, because, you know, we have all been living in a society we call an industrial society. We all think that is the best way, that's the only way. You know, people cannot imagine that a society can be organized in a different way. People don't just have the imagination. But if you look back in time, you know it's already the 4th time that happens. Yeah, for a very long time, is that what's very important to understand is the importance of money here. Because a society is always organized along the most important source of economic value creation, which is an academic word for where you make most money, basically. So for thousands of years, maybe you cannot imagine that, but for thousands of years, the only way to make money is by agricultural products. We call it the agricultural age. That is what we call society 1.0. So if you have a lot of land, people are rich and powerful. And if you do not have land, you're poor and powerless, basically. Yeah, for thousands of years, there were only landowners that were powerful and rich, and the rest of the people has to find the next day, basically. Yeah, so they were trying to survive. They thought it will always be the same. Yeah, for thousands of years, we have landowners. They were the boss, and the other people has to survive that, and they thought it will always be like that. It was even worse. There were philosophers like Plato, who said the only ones who can make decisions for a country, for the people, were the people that are rich and powerful and literate, because at that time not everyone could speak and write. So they thought it will always stay the same. It will never change. And still it changed. And then we came in a sort of situation, the same kind of situation we are in now, which is in the transition to a new society. And actually it started in the Netherlands. This is good to say, because the Netherlands were very important in that transition to society 2.0. And that had to do with the location of the Netherlands. The Netherlands is well positioned over land to Europe, but also at the sea, with a long maritime tradition. And what happened is that trading became more important than land ownership. Yes, slowly trade became more important. That was also, by the way, outside of the Netherlands. For example, Singapore, Genoa, Venice. Also there, trade became more important. But what happened there is they built a sort of wall around the city. And within the city, they make decisions that were good for trade. And out of the wall, they make decisions good for the landowners, basically. In the Netherlands, that was not possible. Basically for 2 reasons. The first reason was there was not one trade city, but there were many. You know, Amsterdam, Rotterdam, Enkhuizen, Zwolle. You had a lot of trade cities. And the second, all those trade cities has to cooperate to fight an enemy. You know what the enemy is? That was the enemy of the Netherlands, still is the enemy of the Netherlands? Water, exactly. So they have to cooperate to build dikes, to fight the water, the sea. And at some point of time, the Netherlands said, you know, at that time the Netherlands was owned by the Spanish king, Philip II. Then we said to the Spanish King Philip II, you know, we are finished, we're going to leave you. It's called the Act of Abandonment. That was the beginning of the Netherlands, the birth of the Netherlands. Plakkaat van verlatingen in Dutch. Basically what we said to King Philip II is, we are finished now. Yeah? Leave the country, they kicked him out, give him bonbons and some flowers, and you know, and from that moment on, the Netherlands was independent of Spain. But then the Dutch knew what they did not want, but they did not know what they did want. And that period took 7 years. So in 7 years, the same as we are now, 7 years of things that we know we do not want, but we did not know what we did want. And after 7 years was the development of the Republic of the Seven Provinces. Now you can imagine how important that is, because in that agricultural time, it was a feudal society in which a small group of people were the leader. It was a top-down society. Yeah, there was a small group of people that were owning the country. In the Republic, it were the entrepreneurs, the traders, which was much more of an entrepreneurial society. It was a bottom-up society. Now, in that time, in that transition, and with the development of the Republic, the landowners, you know, the elite said, you know, there's never going to happen, you know. This is not possible. Yeah, because Plato said, you know, that traders and farmers and fishermen cannot lead a country. Yeah? Well, that was the beginning of the golden age, if you know, for the Netherlands at least. So basically, it was a big change from a top-down society to an entrepreneurial bottom-up society. Now that also took a long time. So for 350 years, the Netherlands were a trade society. And the Netherlands were the first, but it also step by step also went to other countries as well. That means that the source of economic value creation had changed from land ownership to trade. Then we again got into a revolution, which is called the Industrial Revolution, remember? And the Industrial Revolution was the invention of the machine. Spinning jenny was the first machine in the world, was in the UK. Spinning jenny, instead of spinning with your hands or with your feet, was replaced by a steam engine that went better and faster. And therefore the clothing became cheaper and better. Basically, that's what it is. So the Industrial Revolution was about industrial mass production. Now, one machine doesn't change, 10 machines doesn't change in society, not 100, not 1,000. But at some point of time, industrial mass production became more important than trade. And then again, we came in the transition, you know, like before. We have to leave the trade society, we have to go to the industrial society. And also in that time, there were all kinds of philosophers like me who said, you know, the industrial society should look like this. There were people who said we have to go to capitalism and socialism and communism and Leninism and Marxism, remember? They were thinking about how does that society, that new society, how should that look like? In different countries, they made different choices, but especially the political system. I want to focus on the political system here. The political system was how do you make political choices in industrial society? Now, basically the two most important factors in industrial society were capital and labor. Yeah, that's basically what it was. And the whole system, the government system changed. In different countries, you make different choices. You know, in Russia, they made different choices than in China, different in America, different in the UK, different in the Netherlands, different in Belgium. But basically, they make a choice how to manage capital and labor. For example, in the UK, they have two-party system, right? Labor, and capital, but they call it something else. Democrats and Republicans in the United States. Also in the Netherlands, we had a multi-party system. Of course, the Netherlands did it differently. But on the left side, we call it left side, right? Partij van de Arbeid, Labour Party. Ever heard of that? Yeah? And on the other side, the party of capital. Well, we called it a little bit different, with multiple parties, and then we go to voting, and then somehow we get sort of a center left, and then center right, and then center left, and center right, right? So it was balancing labor and capital. Now, what happened in the Netherlands was what we call Thorbecke, the House of Thorbecke. And the House of Thorbecke was a sort of brilliant, so the Thorbecke was very brilliant, because Thorbecke made a combination of the needs of the elite and the needs of the people, basically. Yeah? So remember that in the first Society 1.0 was top-down, Society 2.0 was bottom-up, and Thorbecke made a combination of the two, because we went out of a republic back to a kingdom, so the elite was happy, and they also made some kind of democracy, and therefore the people were happy. So the genius of Thorbecke is to make a combination of two opposite kind of needs. Why is this important? Because now we are also in a transition, because industrial mass production is not anymore the most important source of economic value creation. If you look at what's most important, these are data, basically. So we are in a transition to a digital society, led by a number of developments, digital technologies, but also some other things happened. One of them is that many people don't realize that, but it is changing the society enormously. The largest companies in the world are larger than countries. Yeah, and before that, we had a system in which if as a company you want to do business in a country, you have to listen to the laws in that country. If you take, for example, Philips. If you want to go to UK, then you go to UK, there are all kinds of laws and you have to obey the laws of that country. But now the largest companies are richer and larger than countries. There are only two countries larger and more stronger than companies, the United States and China. And for the rest, all the countries are smaller and they're less rich than the largest companies in the world. And what they do, those companies, they want to make the law. I call them corporate states, because they behave like states. They want to make the law. They don't listen to us. If you go to LinkedIn or Facebook, you have to you accept the terms and conditions. Now, if you look at the terms and conditions, freedom of speech is not part of that, if you know what I mean. Yeah? So they are making the laws now. The second is, the largest issues in the world cannot be solved in The Hague or Brussels. If you take the plastic soup, biodiversity, microplastics, all kinds of things that are really important, what can you do in The Hague or in Brussels? You cannot change that. So what happens is that over time we had developed a number of NGOs, non-governmental organizations. 100 years ago there were 400, there are now 40,000. So now there are 40,000 undemocratic NGOs ruling the world. Now you know what happens, because they are very powerful. Then they cooperate with a number of companies, they're very rich. So you get at the global level, so we have been globalizing over time. At the global level we have undemocratic, powerful NGOs cooperating with very rich companies that are larger than countries. So we are out of a system, the industrial system, in which countries were important, where in the country are being made decisions, and companies have to obey the laws of that country, is now changing. So you could say that over time we went from a region to a province to a country to Europe to global. It's a globalization trend. Now this changes everything, because we have to go to a new society. I call that Society 4.0. Yeah, we have to develop something like Society 4.0. In that context, I referred to that before, the most important technology is artificial intelligence. And I want to talk about that a little bit. because people cannot imagine what that means. So far, humans have taken possession over the planet because we are smarter than zebras, right? Yeah, or you take lions. Yeah, lions are much stronger than humans, and still we put them in a zoo. Yeah, so we have taken possession over the planet because we are the smartest organism at the planet. As from 2030, humans are not the most intelligent anymore. Yeah? So you can imagine that everything that we have been doing, and also the importance of economics, the importance of economic value creation, has to do with the fact that humans have taken over, the ownership over the planet. But as from 2030, artificial intelligence will surpass humans. Yeah, can you imagine what that means? And the first time was with Deep Blue, remember? Yeah, so Deep Blue, and it was already a long time ago, 1986, 1987. That's a long time ago. Yeah, so there was, you had Deep Blue, who beat Garry Kasparov, the best chess player in the world. Yeah, that was the first time when humans were not the most intelligent in chess. That's what we call rule-based artificial intelligence. A year later, there was a Santa Fe Institute who published an article that they had developed artificial intelligence, what we call pattern-based artificial intelligence. They had the intelligence of an ant. So they published a paper, we have a pattern-based artificial intelligence, and we have beaten an ant. And people thought, well, what the fuck, you know? How important is that? But I thought, this is that signal I was talking about. So, the intelligence of humans is to recognize patterns. So, if they are already at an ant, and they will develop that over time, at some point of time, artificial intelligence will surpass human beings. So, if in 2030, humans are not the most important and not the most intelligent organism at the world then, how will society look like? What does that mean? And you can imagine that it could be that, to make it a little bit human, that artificial intelligence will get an IQ of 500. Then we don't understand what they're doing. Yeah, it's the same that, you know, mice or zebras cannot understand how people think because we are too intelligent for them. But in 2030, it goes at a level where we don't understand anymore what artificial intelligence is going to do. They will take over. In the first time of the history of man, for 12,000 years, we will have something that is more intelligent than humans. They will also be the source of economic value creation. So it's not in the ownership of humans anymore to do economic value creation. That will be done by artificial intelligence. Also, the leadership over the world will not be by humans, but it will be done by artificial intelligence. The question is then, what is then the core of humans? Yeah, because so far, our whole society has been based on the fact that we are the most intelligent, that we rule the world, and from 2030 it's not the case. There will be something like artificial intelligence will be the leader of the world. They will be the economic value creator of the world. So what's the difference between humans and artificial intelligence? And what is the competitive advantage of humans over artificial intelligence and all the other things in the future? What is it? What is it what humans have, what artificial intelligence doesn't have? And by the way, you can combine artificial intelligence with robots, for example. Yeah, so you get what we call humanoids. So you can imagine that in the future, the whole economic system and the leadership system will be out of the hands of humans. So not only we are on the transition to a new society, which happens only in a couple of 100 years ago, which is unique, but also the first time in the history of man, for the last 12,000 years, where we will not be the most intelligent anymore. I have called that in my later speech in Dutch, de ontknoping van de samenleving. This was the name of my emirate speech. De ontknoping de ontknoping van de samenleving. It's hard to explain in English. I will try. It's the ending of the society.
Unwinding of society.
Yeah, but it's also the unwinding of society. Exactly. Yeah, it's a little bit of a combination. So we have to prepare ourselves on a society where we're not in control anymore. We are not the leader of the world anymore. We are not the primary source of economic value creation anymore. That's the first time in history. And then what is it then? What makes us human? What is it what humans have, what artificial intelligence doesn't? Well, one thing, we have a soul. Yeah, because artificial intelligence is a soulless, a feelingless, yeah, something without a ghost. So if you look at that from a distance, you look from a distance, let's say from another planet, and you look at the planet, and you look what is unique about humans. It's suppose that it's not intelligence anymore, it's not it's not economics anymore, not leadership anymore. That's out of our hands. What is unique about humans? Because that's the future of a society. So we have to organize ourselves again. Society, we have to organize how we are going to live together, and what's then unique of humans. Suppose you're from a different planet, you're an alien, and you're looking at the planet, and you look at humans. What is so unique about humans? And I can imagine that what we are unique at is having a soul, making music, having love, right? So basically, we have to become more human. And you could imagine that in you also refer to an economic slave. Now we call humans human resources, right? Mm-hmm. So we characterize now humans as production factors, right? And also if you look at what it means for the current state in the industrial society, is we have lost basically to discuss the real important things about the meaning of life. For thousands of years, you also talked about that, why we are on the planet. We have been thinking from Christianity, but also other parts of the world, always asking the important questions, why we are on the planet and what's unique about humans. We didn't come out, but we wrote all kinds of books inspiring for people. And in the industrial age, we finally found the answer to the reason why we are on the planet. Yeah, and the answer is, we are on the planet to go to school, to get a diploma, to get to work, to get an income, then buy a house, buy a car and a caravan, go on vacation, and the rest of the year you look at RTL Boulevard.
Yeah, and then you divorce.
It's also called nihilistic times. Yeah, so we have become materialistic. We have become people that are focusing on the things that are not important. And we have decided not to focus on the things that are really important and the reason why we are on the planet. This artificial intelligence, this change that we're in, forces us to go back to that question. Why we are on the planet? Because if we are not in control anymore, we have to become human. And we have to focus on the things that we are really good at. What is it to be human? And then we come closer to what you're saying. By the way, I think that God was an alien, but that's something else. But it forces us to think again why we are here. And look at your own life. What makes you happy? What is it unique about being human? And remember, when you go on the streets and there's music and you sing together and you dance together, what we're going to do later on, and you feel the love of other people, and you feel, to have a soul, then you know what it is to be human. So the most important thing is become human again, reinvent humanity. It means a lot of things. This is my book, Society 4.0. It also means that we have to change democracy itself. People cannot imagine, because what most people do is that there are developments. You try to improve the current system. What I try to explain today is that improving the current system is not going to work. You cannot improve the current system because also the democratic system doesn't work anymore. So what I did here is to make a completely new design for democracy, direct democracy. And will not explain that word. You have to believe that. And also, I went to here because the basis of the future society is not a country, is not Europe, it's the region. Yeah, so on the one hand, you have a trend which everyone sees, which is called globalization. Yeah, the largest companies, the NGOs, everybody see that. But at the same time, we have to go back to the importance of people, which is in the region. Because the same technologies that make globalization possible, the digital technology, also make regionalization possible. So we get in the future, we have to build a new system, a new democratic system, which is called global, because somehow we have to go to global, but we also have to go back to the basis of society, which is the region, and not the country. Country was a temporary solution, Europe was a temporary solution, but it's over. So we have to make something global, which is here. Basically what it needs is a new design of society, and then we have to go back to Thorbecke, what I refer to. The genius of Thorbecke was to make a combination of what the elite wants and what the people want. Now we have exactly the same question. We have to make some kind of solution. We need some kind of Thorbecke to combine the needs of the world elite, the NGOs and the corporate states, and the needs of the people. I gave an interview, I don't know if you have seen this. This was in het Financiële Dagblad, 26th of July. Interesting day, by the way. Yeah, that was the day of the plakkaat van verlating, indeed. So, yeah, coincidence doesn't exist. Huh?
Declaration of Independence.
Exactly, there was a Declaration of Independence. So, and here I made an interview telling the journalists that we are actually looking for a new Thorbecke, because if we don't, there will be a war. Yeah, so the current states are not important anymore. That's folklore. The same for Europe. We have to find a new Thorbecke to make the combination of the needs of the elite with the needs of the people. This had a lot of reactions. I got a lot of reactions saying, well, you know, and a lot of prominent people in the Netherlands came to me, well-known people, and they said, you know, this is exactly what we are going to do. So what we are going to do in the next years, again, it will be unique. It will be a transition until 2030. We have to reinvent and rediscover humanity. We have to reinvent and rediscover what the soul of humans is actually. And we have to make a new governance system at the global level. And that will be, as always, you know, it's a transition like that. It's always the same. There are people who don't want to change. People have no imagination that can be done differently. There are people who want to build something else. People want to make misuse of the situation. It's a very uncertain time. The good thing is, at the end, it will be better, because artificial intelligence will be, you know, much more intelligent. So government the economy will be served better. We can focus on the things that are really important, we'll develop ourselves at a spiritual level, if you like, so that we get the best of our society, combining with the best of humanity. Until then, it will be very shaky, unrest, upsetting, with a lot of fights.
Inspiring.
But the good thing is, once you believe it will be a better world, and together we're going to build it, then it will be better than ever before, because we can focus on the things that's really humanity, where we're good at, which is developing our spirituality, our soul and love. So the outlook is better. It is a bumpy road ahead, but after that it will be better than ever before in the history of humanity. Thank you very much.